What is going on, everybody? I hope everybody's enjoying their week. If this is your first time to my channel, please smash that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, and welcome to my channel. My name is Mike Pino, the Apple Guy, and today I'm going to be doing a quick tutorial on how to install a NVMe drive onto your Asus motherboard. And this is basically a tutorial, so if you've never built a PC, I made a video on actually building my first PC about a couple weeks ago, and although I didn't really film the entire experience in terms of how to build it, I did kind of just do some short videos as to what I have in my PC right now. So as I'm going to be kind of doing this tutorial with this, just kind of show you some of the insides of what my PC has. And so what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be showing you how to install one of these onto the motherboard on your, should I say, install one of these onto your motherboard. Again, this is just a NVMe M2 drive. You can pretty much install these on all motherboards. They all have a motherboard socket, or as they call it, an M2 socket. And the only thing that you're really going to need, and this is something that came with your motherboard, and hopefully you haven't thrown them away, it's always good to keep these screws and whatnot, is you're going to need this kind of a screw, if it'll show it to you. This little teeny tiny screw, and it has a little square thing. You're going to need that, and you're also going to want to use a grounding, something that you can connect to the chassis so that you don't accidentally short something out, and obviously the M.2 drive. So this is pretty simple, easy, straightforward. I'm just going to show you how to install it. Just to keep in mind, there are actually two different types of NVMe drives. The first one that I actually bought was kind of a mistake. So what I'm going to show you is what the drive looks like and where the mistake was made. So on most NVMe drives, as you can see on the top here, they have just a just a little, I guess you could call it, you got one stick, you've got a little hole right there, and then you got the other connection right there. On most NVMe drives, you actually have two connections plus one in the middle. That typically doesn't really, I don't know if that actually fits in most motherboards. At least on mine, I believe it wasn't the right one to go into my motherboard, so I actually bought the correct one. So when you're installing one of these, make sure that you're getting the right one for your motherboard, as there are two different types of NVMe drives. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of show you how to install this, and then what we're going to do is I'll actually show you, once I've got it installed, what the drive looks like on my PC, in terms of just kind of show you how it's registered. And the reason why I am using a terabyte is my machine is actually going to be a editing and gaming machine, and with a lot of these games that are coming out, a lot of them are rather large, rather large video games. Call of Duty in general is about a almost 200 gig file when it comes to actually getting the entire game downloaded. And right now I have that on my main solid state, which is what I'm using right now for my OS, and pretty much all my program files is on the main OS. And though I do have a separate hard drive for all my other stuff, it's just a regular hard drive, so it's not really designed for running any type of gaming. I really rather would run it all off of the NVMe drive. So we're going to go into the kind of installing it and just kind of talk a little bit about it now, before you start, you want to make sure you have ample light to do what you need to do, because again, these screws are a tad bit small, so it is kind of hard to see them when they fall out into the case. But you want to make sure that you have an adequate light to see what you need to see. So what we're going to do is we're going to take my wrist thing, my static wrist guard, and we're going to just clip this to the side, just like that. And I'm going to take this and I'm just going to kind of wrap this around my band. So I'm going to take off my watch so that it doesn't kind of get in the way. And depending on which hand you want to put it on, left hand or right hand, doesn't really matter, but I'm left-handed, so unfortunately my watch is left-handed, so I'm going to have to throw this on my wrist really quick. Now, as you can see, I do have this on, so I don't have to worry about it me staticking or causing any electrical shocks or anything electrical to the PC. That way, if something gets damaged, I end up having to replace that. So we're going to take the NVMe drive. As you can see here, this is my NVMe drive. This is a Crucial 1 terabyte NVMe M2.2280, as I showed you in the manual, 220, so it's going to fit in. There is a little slot right here to the side. Just have to kind of move that over, and then I will just slide it into that, and then the corresponding little, as you can see, there's 3 little circles. It'll end up going into the 3rd one, and all I have it, and then where it sits, and all I have to do is take my screw it in, and that is pretty much it. It's not hard. It's just you just want to make sure that you're not touching anything electrical, or that you have yourself grounded. That way, in case something were to happen, it catches it with the wrist guard, and you don't have to worry about jacking. 1 terabyte Crucial NVMe Drive, and as you can see, it's going to line up right here on these circles right here. That is the socket over there in the corner. All I have to do is just take this, line this little slot up with the slot in that, push it down, and then I would take the provided screw it into the corresponding I guess those are posts, and then once that's it, once it's screwed in, then that's pretty much it. I just put everything back up, and then I'm going to show you and once that's done, I'll show you on the computer where the drive is, and that is actually showing up on the computer. It goes into the connector slot with that. Now when I stick it in, it's going to stick out. All I have to do is push it down, and it's going to end up touching the 3rd post right there. Once I know where that goes, and all I have to do is take the provided screw that down so that it lays flat, and then put everything back together, and then I will show you that the drive is being read by the computer, and then that's pretty much it for this tutorial. So again, you just want to make sure that you are grounded and that nothing is going to electrocute anything, because again, although it really depends on how much static you have in your room and how much static you have, you just really want to make sure that you're not going to short anything out or fry anything, because again, you end up having to replace it with another piece. So I'm simply going to take this, and you want to be very careful, because if you have a dedicated graphics card, it does tend to want to move around a little. So I'm just going to make sure that I have this in. If you don't get it in the first time, that's fine. You just want to make sure that you get it in. If it touches anything, that's okay. You just want to make sure that you get the slot in, and that you get it in, and it's going to be a slight little push. Just like that. As you can see, that is how that's going to sit until you push it down, and then once you push it down, it's going to end up right there, as you can see on that 3rd post, just like I said it would. Now you want to take your screwdriver. It's going to be a 4-headed or a Phillips screwdriver. Typically, if you have a magnetic one, it actually works better, because again, you don't have to worry about the screw being missing. So we're going to take this. I'm going to have to figure out how to do this without that, because I don't have a magnetic screw. So we're actually going to be using something different. Now, as you can see, I actually have it installed. I unfortunately had to pull out my GPU and in order to install this. So my advice would be to, before you even get all this installed, make sure you have your RAM. If you want to install an NVM, put that in before you put your GPU in, because if you want to do it after you've got everything in, it is a little bit difficult to do it, unless of course you've got a full or a bigger or a full tower, not a mid tower. But either way, if you want to save the hassle of having to do what I just did, it's actually easier just to do it before you get everything in. So as you can see now, I've actually got it in. Now I'm going to go put my GPU back in, and then once I get that installed and everything back up and running, I'm going to show you on the computer that the drive has actually been recognized, and then again, that's pretty much it for the tutorial. And as you can see, I have the GPU installed back on my motherboard. Again, if you're planning on buying an NVM and you want to put it in after you've installed everything, unless you have like a full tower where you can actually access stuff with your hands with great ease. If you have a mid tower, it's a little bit more difficult, as I actually had to remove this, as you saw, putting this back in. It's easier to install it before you put it inside the case and have all your cables and everything done. So once I get this all rewired and set up again, and I have my tempered glass back on this, we're going to boot this back up, and then I'm going to show you that the NVMe drive was accepted by the computer, and that's pretty much it. Again, it's not hard, it's just, it is time consuming, so it's easier to do this before you put everything together and inside the case. Again, I have a mid tower, so my hands, they're not fairly big, but having to move your hand around in here, having to move things around, sometimes it does tend to make it a little bit difficult, as you can see with this. So you end up moving this around, and it's just something you just not want to do. So again, we're going to get this all put together, and then I'm going to show you on my computer whether or not this was actually accepted or not. It should. It's just a simple push and plug, tie down, and that's pretty much it. So let's get to it. Now that I have my GPU back in and my NVM is installed, what we're going to do is we're actually going to go in and we're going to format it. So right here on the side, you're going to right click, and then from there you're going to select disk management. And then from there, it'll bring up the disk management folder or the program. And then what you can do is you're going to look for the hard drive that has not been allocated. So basically, it'll be the one that either says like disk 0, 0 partition, or you just kind of select the drive that really doesn't have anything or any information on the drive. So what you'll do is you'll end up right clicking, and then from here you'll see where it gives you a bunch of options. What you want to do is you'll want to hit the one that says simple volume, and then what happens is that once the wizard pops up, which is basically like a little intuitive instructions, once that goes through the settings, at the end of the program, or at the end of the wizard, it's going to ask you to assign the hard drive. As you can see on mine, for my gaming, it's assigned F. Now you don't have to go with whatever the wizard recommends. You can actually change the letters if you want to. I just went with the default because I just didn't feel like I want to change it. And then once that is done and it's formatted, you simply exit the program, and then you go into File, Explorer, right here, and then you go to My PC, right there. And then from here, as you can see, that is my NVMe drive there, which I renamed the gaming SSD, because this will be my primary SSD drive for all of the games that I will be downloading. So my Call of Duty, my Need for Speeds, and my Road Company will all actually be running from this SSD because it's a much faster drive for that. And so that's pretty much it. So that's literally all you have to do when it comes to installing and having to format and making sure that well, not really format, but to make sure that your computer recognizes your hard drive. And that's pretty much it. So again, if this is your first time to my channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit that bell notification. That way you don't miss content when I drop it. And stay tuned for my next video, as I'm going to be actually installing some RGB lights in my PC. Actually, the ones that I had previously had some issues with, so I had to actually send those back. But stay tuned for that tutorial on that. And again, I want to thank everybody for watching. And my name is Black Apino the Apple Guy, and have a great week.